didn't do well. I got into crime scene because I'm so analytical and anal. And I understand that, but I also understand the urgency, the triage, the emergency. The only difference is, and this is what I'm finding, it's a different culture. In law enforcement, you're taught to have command presence, be gruff and quick, get to the point, that kind of thing. So it's a cultural process that we're going through as well.
Yep.
So that's where we're learning. You know, we're kind of trying to soften the edges, trying to serve as opposed to, even though in law enforcement they say we serve, you know how it is. We tell people what to do.
Yeah. I'll tell you something. I mean, think about the nature of our conversations. Isn't that kind of what I do with you guys?
Exactly.
So it's because, number one, I know what to do, and that's something that you're learning. So, like, I already know right when I get on the call with you and you're like, I can just tell by your voice what we're going to be talking about. It sounds like frustration. It sounds like I don't know what to do. My hands are up in the air. Things are not working. They're not working fast enough. It indicates sometimes to me, just in the tone, there's financial pressure, which is why things are not happening fast enough. Because if there wasn't, you wouldn't care. You'd just be like, this is just part of the process. It's just going to take some time as an investment. We're in it for the long haul. But usually when we're looking for money quickly, it creates more pressure when things are not happening as quickly as we like them to happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the story is exactly what's going on.
Now, you didn't tell me that, but I could just hear it in your voice because I've done this so many times. And it's my point in saying this is that not because I'm clairvoyant, it's just that what you're going through is normal. I know that's not like the most comforting thing to hear, but at the same time, remember there's 3 skills that we're learning here. Okay. There's 3 major skills that you're learning. And because these 3 skills require you to come out of your comfort zone, learn new skills, just like as if you were a doctor, just like as if you were a lawyer, whatever high paying career, that you were going through. The reason that these careers pay so much is because they solve big problems. In order to solve these big problems, you have to have big solutions. And you've got to have the skill set to be able to quickly analyze something. So like for me, I quickly heard your voice tone. I knew exactly where we're headed. And I knew that it was simply a matter of assessing where is the break in the sales process for your business in those 3 skills, right? So we've got to have a traffic source. That's our first skill, right? We've got to be able to generate traffic that's targeted, that are filled with people that want what we offer, right? That's the first thing. So if I'm going to put bait in water, I had this conversation with some good friends last night, literally just last night. They're non-entrepreneurs, but they want to kind of cross that chasm. And fear has been the only thing that's stopping them from doing that. And the fear is, I don't know where to find people that want to buy my stuff. So that's the first problem. They got traffic issue, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is you've got to have some kind of a way to present your wares, present your offering. A sales funnel is usually what that's called, right? Some kind of a website that explains what you offer, usually follows up automatically, and it kind of qualifies and sorts through, who you want to work with. And the third major skill is the art of ethically persuading somebody that you'll never meet over the phone, whether it's in a screen share, like I'm ethically persuading you right now, or over the phone, if it's a seller you're not screen sharing. You've got to have the ability to persuade somebody to believe what you believe, right? So selling is simply a transfer of belief. I have a belief right now that those 3 skills and a full understanding of them, and giving yourself some time to actually implement them, driving traffic to funnels, capturing leads, nurturing those leads, and then qualifying them into a small group of folks that you can ultimately talk to who have qualified themselves, and then persuade them ethically to believe, to adopt your belief. I know that those 3 things are just kind of where I live in my world, right? It's those 3 things that I've got to transfer to you. So when I hear the frustration in your voice, I know that there's a breakdown somewhere in one of those three things. And we talked about it our last call that it was the art of persuasion. It was, what do I say? I feel nervous. I don't feel certain. And so the problem with your prospects, of course, is they're even less certain than you are. And if you sound uncertain and they're really uncertain, the last thing that they want is your uncertainty. They've already got enough of their own. So what they want is you to lead them out of uncertainty and bring them to a place of certainty. So one of the things I did share with you was to get some good over-the-phone sales training. Were you or Dan able to get any of that training?
Are you talking about the Grant Cardone?
Yep.
We haven't listened to any of his. We've done role play together. We've watched videos, some of yours, some of Joe Crump's. We haven't gone to Grant Cardone yet. Honestly, because we're just overwhelmed and we'd rather listen to you over somebody new. Just
for sure. And that's totally cool. And that's what we're going to do on today's call. I think honestly, that's what's lacking here, because what you've got, like if we look at the three, critical pillars of your business: traffic, some kind of a sales funnel that presents your offer, presents your you have an irresistible offer that's being presented somehow.
Yeah, we've got
and
that.
The third one is persuasion. You've already got the traffic and you've already got the sales funnel, so we know that. What's lacking is the persuasion, right? That's what we shared this last time. So yeah, I would like to spend this call. I'm recording it now so that way you can have this for Dan as well.
Thank you.
And you guys can hear it. So let's do some role playing. You can be the seller. I'll be you. We'll do a couple. Sorry about that. I live in LA, so what can you say?
I know.
It's busy cities. So you can be a difficult seller. You can be an easy seller. You can be whatever kind of seller. Basically, the seller you want to be is the one that you're struggling with the most.
Okay, perfect.
And then I'll be you. And then we'll do some where you become the seller. I'm sorry, you become me, and I'll be the seller. And then you really get to work out your stuff. So you call me. Hello?
Wait a minute. So I'm the seller.
I'm sorry. Yes, you are the seller. I just completely, yeah. So you're the seller. So ring, ring, you say hello.
Okay. Hello.
Hey, Susie, this is Russell. I was just texting you a bit ago about your property.
Yes. What do you got to tell me?
It really just depends. Depends on what you need. I'm not 100% sure at this point. But can you share a little bit about your property with me?
Okay. So we've had this property up for about 3 months. We want $200,000. That looks to be good market. We haven't gotten much response, and I'm having to move within the next couple of weeks.
All right, so you have a property for $200,000. I'm just taking some notes here. You're not getting much response, and you need to move in a couple of weeks. What do you think the problem is?
I think it's price.
Okay, I would agree with that for sure. How are you currently trying to sell it? Are you trying to sell it for all cash?
Yes, that would be ideal. As for sale by owner, we have it listed. We just really don't have the cash to pay a realtor.
Okay, so there's no, you mean you have no equity?
Not enough equity.
No equity, okay. So is cash the only thing that you can do, or could you accept terms?
I'm not sure. Can you explain that to me?
Terms would basically be getting you all of the money for your property that you're asking for, at least the way I would structure the deal, but it wouldn't be all today. It would be over the next 1 to 3 years.
And so what do I have to do for 3 years?
Not a whole lot. That's the other way that I structure things. You would not be, we would put a tenant buyer in the property, so they would be responsible for the property. Things like repairs up to $5,000. We'd sell the property as is. So you wouldn't be a landlord, and you wouldn't even need to hire a property management company and give away 10% of your rental price each month. The answer to your question in short is you wouldn't have to do a whole lot other than collect rent checks.
Okay, so then how do we find this person that's going to move into the house?
Not for you really to worry about. We would do it ourselves. We would do some marketing, like I said, for your full asking price. And we would appeal to folks that are currently looking to rent because they don't know that that you're offering the opportunity for them to achieve home ownership. And you become a godsend to them. You become the oasis in the desert for these folks. And, a sight for sore eyes. I can't think of any more, what are the analogies or metaphors, but essentially you become something that they want. And so for people that have cash in the bank now, but for some past reason, it could be credit, it could be not enough time on their job, not enough down payment, whatever the issue might be, for some reason they have not been able to qualify for a bank loan. Bank loans are pretty difficult to qualify. It doesn't mean that they're all terrible people. In fact, we don't deal with people that can't repay and can't demonstrate or prove that they can make payments each month. We won't deal with them at all. We have them provide documentation that proves this, that we receive and you receive. But these are folks that for some reason just missed one of the qualifications or something just wasn't there. They just need a little bit more time, usually 1 to 3 years. And so these folks would take over your payments for you. They'd be willing to give you your full asking price as long as it's obviously within reason. And then in the next 1 to 3 years from now, they would go to a bank once they've got all their ducks in a row. They meet all the qualifications, and they've already spoken to a mortgage broker before we even do the deal, so they know for a fact how long they need.
Well, what is it that is compelling them to go see a mortgage broker if they may not be fully committed? Say at the end of 3 years, and they choose not to buy the house, then what happens?
Well, unlike a regular tenant that you receive a small refundable deposit for, meaning they have to give it back or you have to give it back to the tenant, these folks put down a larger amount of money, far larger, non-refundable up front. And so they've got skin in the game. They're not just haphazardly wanting to rent. They could go rent right now. That's what they're trying to do. So the lure of this property, the ethical lure of this property, is that you're, as a seller, looking to fill your property. I mean, you share with me that you're trying to move in the next 2 weeks. You have no equity, so you can't pay realtors 6% commissions, which at $200,000 would be $12,000, plus closing costs, and any kind of repairs that you might have to do, that kind of stuff. So all of that adds up. You're probably looking at $15,000 or more potentially that you'd have to come out of pocket. The fastest way to get folks to come to your property and make offers for your full asking price would be doing a lease option, also known as a rent to own. And because these folks are putting down non-refundable money up front, they've got skin in the game. They have a lot of incentive to buy this house.
What's keeping them from, do you require that they go see a mortgage broker, or do they just do that because they are interested in buying the home?
Yeah, both parties, you and they, want to know before any contracts have been signed that they can actually buy the house, and by when. Now, it is an option to buy, so they're not required to buy, like what's called a lease purchase. But again, their intention is to buy. I mean, nobody's just going to plop down a nice chunk of non-refundable money when they could easily just put a fraction of that down that's refundable, get the money back, rent it, unless they were genuinely interested in buying the property. So they speak with a mortgage broker first. The mortgage broker says you need 2 years before you can buy this house. So they might wisely negotiate 2.5 just to give them a little bit of a buffer. You, on the other hand, don't need a property manager. You don't have to fix anything. No leaks, no roof problems, no toilet issues, nothing for almost 3 years, or roughly 3 years. And if they, worst case scenario, they decide to give you the property back for whatever reason, they lost their job or whatever, you pocket the money that you got up front, you call us, and we put somebody else in your property and we just do it again. Or if things have changed at that time, you got a little bit more equity, you can just sell the house, for cash today.
That makes sense. What about if they trash the house?
Well, again, we go back to doing that comparison, right? So if we look at a comparison, kind of like a decision tree, if you will, do I rent to a regular renter who's going to put down a small refundable deposit, which makes things more risky for me or for you, in this case, the homeowner, because you get a small amount of money that you're holding on to. They might have great credit. I had great credit probably close to 15 years ago, right before I went bankrupt. I mean, I had amazing credit right before I went bankrupt. And so if you would have judged me and let me rent your place right before I went bankrupt, you would have said, this guy's a perfect tenant, no risk here. And then I would have went bankrupt and I could have included you in the bankruptcy. So credit is good. It's a good, you know, it's a good kind of indicator, but I'd rather have thousands of dollars in my account or know that they put thousands of dollars down on this deal, knowing that they've got the skin in the game and they're not going to want to just blow that.
I think I've run out of questions to ask. I can't think of anything else, Russell.
So, you know, listen, I appreciate that. And listen, is there anything that would be stopping you at this point from moving forward with you if I sent you a one-page agreement that, by all means, you're more than welcome to have your real estate attorney review before you sign? It's a one-page agreement on purpose, by the way, Susie, because our intention is to make this as transparent, as risk-free as humanly possible. Usually, you know, as you know, when you signed to buy your house, you probably signed about 40 pages when you signed it. This is one page, and it'll say clearly that you could cancel at any time. We're not going to ask you for any money out of your pocket. There's no reason for you to give us any money out of your pocket. We don't want your social security number. You know, we don't want anything crazy like that. It's simply, in my opinion, Susie, a glorified permission slip that legally allows me to act as a principal and sell your pricing in your terms, not my pricing in my terms, but your pricing in your terms to an end tenant buyer. So if you want somebody to give you your pricing in terms, this document allows me to do that because I'm not a licensed realtor in your state. I have to act as a principal in the transaction selling what I would then legally technically own, which is just the right to buy this property. And even that is going to expire in about 2 months, or it would expire as soon as you send me an email and say it's expired. So would there be any reason at all that you would not be willing to agree to something like that, assuming what I've just said is true, assuming that your real estate attorney agreed as well?
I mean, you can send it and let me talk to my husband about it. Sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely understand. Let me ask you a question. When you do talk to your husband about it, what would be the one thing that you'd want to talk to your husband about that we haven't talked about so far? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, I know. So when interested buyers come to look at the home, I mean, are we going to have to be showing this home all day, every day? And also, I have a question. Say they do come to the property and I'm more interested in selling it as a FSBO. Can I pitch that to them too?
You know, we don't want to be competition with you. Obviously, that's a kind of a waste of our time if you're competing against us. And as your time is valuable, so is ours. So to answer the second part of that question, we don't want to enter into an agreement with you if we know that you're going to be essentially competing against us. I don't think that'd be equitable. And we want definitely a win-win-win. We want to win for you, win for us, and win for the intended buyer. Secondly, to answer the first part, you know, what we do is we do what's called an auction strategy, where if we get the pricing right, which it sounds like at this point the pricing is not right. It may be a little bit off on your purchase price, but of course we're going to be doing a lease with the option to buy, so it's going to be a little bit different because we're going to be really focusing on the rental amount. What our goal is to schedule like a Saturday or Sunday and have folks show up on one day for 1 hour and 1 hour only. So that way everybody shows up at the right time. So if we've done a good job at pricing this property right, then we ought to have a good group of folks show up in a relatively short time. My average is about 7 to 14 days start to finish. I've done it as quickly as 6 days. Have everybody show up on one day for 1 hour and make offers. So that way you're not having to show up every single weekend to show the property. If you don't live in the property, or if you do live in the property, not be inconvenienced every weekend. Instead, we'll just do it on one day, assuming we get the property price right. That's the key.
And what happens if it doesn't sell the first week?
It just means it depends on the traffic that we've gotten in so far. You know, we'll have to kind of gauge that. We're getting a good amount of response. You know, your typical transaction is going to take 30 to 90 days. What's beautiful about this type of a transaction is it can be closed, start to finish, in 7 to 14 days. And so you need to move out in a couple of weeks. We can still do the transaction while you move out. We'll know pretty much if we price everything right in a few days. The deal that I did for the close in 6 days, we found a buyer in 24 to 48 hours. We had 2 people show up to the property, 1 made an offer, we had the deal closed, and that was all done within a 24 to 48 hour period. So again, it boils down to price. You said it yourself. You didn't think the property was priced right, and I agree with you. Properties don't sell because of price. There's no other real reason. If the economy's in shambles or whatever, you know, whatever the reasons are going externally, the property's not priced according to those things. It's a price issue. So we can get you folks soon and even close the deal, hopefully in 7 days, if not in 14 days. And even if it took 3 weeks, even 4 weeks, you could have moved out and we could have some folks in the process of buying during that time.
Okay, all right, that sounds good.
So here's what I would say is, have we talked about everything that concerns you most, or is there like one thing, if you were to come up with something that would be like the one thing that would be stopping you from moving forward, what would that one thing be, if there's anything?
Well, I guess I don't know you from Adam. I mean, I don't know anything about you, and it seems kind of odd to just be doing this over the phone.
So it's a totally fair question. I completely understand. And the truth is, you're right. You don't know me, and you're probably thinking to yourself, you know, how do I know this guy's not going to scam me? So here's a couple of thoughts that I want to share with you. This is something that the 3 of us can talk with, me, you, and your husband on the phone. Is you're right, you don't know me. So first thing I would say is definitely check me out online. Second, definitely talk to your real estate attorney, and the 4 of us can get on the phone and talk about it. I'm happy to do that as well. And I would recommend it for sure, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Also, the truth is, I don't know you from Adam, and there are a lot of scams both ways, right? So sometimes what I've experienced in the past is sellers that don't really own the property, or maybe they're really behind on the property. They accept a large non-refundable amount of money down, and then they go on vacation, or they disappear, or they foreclose. And so it really is a two-way street. And so regardless of whether we're talking on the phone today, really isn't an issue, because the real end tenant buyer isn't me. It's going to be me assigning the option over to an end tenant buyer who will actually physically meet you and inspect the property, and also probably want to know that you're on time with your payments, that you're not going to pull the wool over them. So we're simply selling contracts, terms over to somebody that's ultimately going to be working with you face to face, and just like in a traditional transaction that you're used to.
Got it. So is this legal to do in Colorado?
Yeah, it's legal in every state. The majority of all states, I would say probably 47 out of 50, it's pretty simple and straightforward. There's a couple of states like Texas and the Carolinas where it's legal, but you just have to do, there's a few more hoops to jump through. But in Colorado, yeah, it's not an issue. Colorado is one of the 47 easy states.
Cool. Say for instance, I have an HOA and they don't accept renters. Do we have any other options?
We might try a seller carry. So instead of them being a renter, they would be a buyer. Instead of them being a tenant buyer, they would just be a buyer. And so it would look a lot like a rent to own, but it would not be a rental. It would be a purchase that you, the seller, would then become the bank.
Okay.
So it would look very similar, but contractually it would be a buyer-seller relationship.
Okay. All right. I think I've run out of questions.
So perfect. Let me do this. I'm going to send you both a letter of intent and a lease option memo. Letter of intent is going to basically describe what we just talked about. So don't force you into a position where you can't have to remember now what we just talked about on this call. Instead, it'll be in writing, which I'm sure you and your attorney and your husband would appreciate. Second, the lease option memo is going to be a one-page, like I said, glorified permission slip. Both documents you can have your real estate attorney review. Let me ask you one final question. Would 2 days from now be enough time for you and your husband and a real estate attorney to have looked over the document?
You know, I think we'll talk about it and just wait over the weekend.
Of course. Listen, I don't blame you. These are kind of big decisions that you definitely want to make informed decisions on. One challenge that I can see right off the bat, Susie, is that I've been doing this for 10 years, and you've probably heard about this now for the last 30 minutes. And my experience over the last 10 years is that when folks who just learned about these kinds of options in just about 30 minutes try to regurgitate that to their spouse or their real estate attorney, immediately it gets struck down because you don't know how to explain it like I do. And if it doesn't sound good to somebody, they're automatically going to resort to what's secure for them, and that's what they understand. And because you don't understand it, my concern here is that you're going to lose out on something amazing for you, especially because you mentioned to me that you've got a property that you want $200,000 on. You've got to move in 2 weeks. You have no equity to pay a real estate agent with. And now you want to regurgitate to your spouse and a real estate attorney exactly what's taken me 10 years to learn. Can you see how that might be a problem for you? Sure. So here's what I would recommend. Today is Tuesday. Is Thursday or Friday a good day for us to reconvene and talk, even if it's just me, you, and your husband, so that way I can explain everything to your husband? Yeah, maybe after he gets home from work on Friday. So maybe sometime Friday evening? Sure. Would you say 6 or 7 would work for you? Well, we're having dinner around there, so maybe 7. 7 o'clock? Yeah. Let's do 7:15. That we've got a little bit of a breather. Is there any reason, Susie, that at 7:15 on Friday, besides dinner running a little long, that you couldn't make it on this call? Oh, I mean, well, I've got 3 dogs, so they're always going to challenge me. I mean, that's the only reason I can think of. So let me just share with you why this call at 7:15 on Friday would be extremely important to you. Remember, you've got to move in 2 weeks from now. There's no equity to pay realtors. If you don't make the time for us to get on the call, a super, super priority that can save you thousands of dollars, whether it's the dogs, whether it's dinner running long, my concern here for you is that you're going to be in a real, real bad position with no options. So please do me a favor, whatever you have to do, take care of the dogs, make sure they're fed, of course, and loved before our call, but let's definitely make it a priority to make 7:15 one of the most important calls that you're going to have this year, because I guarantee what I'm going to share with you and your husband in further detail, and maybe even your real estate attorney if you have one, and if you want to put them on the phone. If you don't, that's fine, but if you want to put whoever on the phone, I'm happy to do a 3, 4, 5-way call so that way I can share some valuable information that will save you 6% in commissions, which is about $12,000, and several other $1,000 in repairs, and just stress and frustration of not having a solution. Is that fair? Sure. Susie, I'll talk to you 7:15 on Friday. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye now. Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. Now, if I could just play the recording and move my mouth. So can you see the difference in how I controlled that call every single step? How I used your information that I wrote down to bring back up to you, not against you per se, but right. Yeah. I used it to save you from yourself, because kind of refocuses. What's that? Refocus. Well, the dogs, dinner runs long. I'm saving your financial, you've got a financial cancer. Let me close this window. you've got a financial cancer. I'm a financial cancer doctor. Yes, I'm going to cut your head open. By the way, you didn't even ask me how much of that down payment I'm going to get. And by the way, I'm going to get 95% of it. Because I'm bringing massive value to you. Look, you are willing to give up 6%. The problem is you don't have the 6% to give up. So I'm going to get the lion's share of that money because I'm going to save your financial cancer. Now, if you said to me, I've got 3 months or 6 months to go, then we might have a different negotiation. But you said you got 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to require a tremendous amount of skill that only a guy like me with 10 years of doing this, plus another 4 years as a realtor and 17, 20 years in business would be able to do. Does that make sense? So I'm worth what I'm charging.
Right.
So you didn't even get, if you would have, I would have just crushed it on that too. I mean, I would take all, the lion's share of the money. I have to give you something to make the deal legal, but you have to get some kind of valuable consideration, but not much. I mean, there's no specific hard and fast rule. So, but can you see, like, I got enough information from you to know that you need my help.
Right.
I laid it out for you. I also pressed you on, I got to talk to my husband. Of course you do. Notice what I did.
Right.
Of course you do. I wouldn't expect anything else. Completely understand. Let me ask you a question. That phrase is always going to be your kind of salvation, right? Let me ask you a question. If you were going to talk to your husband about one specific thing that's kind of bugging you right now or kind of floating in your mind, what would that one thing be?
Oh, we're just not going to get any money up front.
So I have to address these concerns, right? Because otherwise, I'm never going to get to the second call.
Exactly.
Right? So you've got to be okay with asking the hard questions. Even if you don't have a response back to them in that moment, you can say, I'm writing it down. Give me just a second. I'm writing it down to ask my mentor or to ask my business partner.
Yeah.
Right? But you've got to ask the questions because otherwise, here's the way it works out. Friday comes around at 7:15 and the phone goes to voicemail.
Yep.
So what I did was I sold our second call. I didn't sell anything beyond that, but I really sold the second call.
Exactly.
I showed you why you'd be absolutely nuts not to get on that next call. And I said, Susie, is there any reason why 7:15 on Friday rolls around, you wouldn't pick up the phone?
Right.
All the dogs. Susie, let me ask you a question. I know the dogs, you love them. They're part of the family. I totally get that, for sure. You said to me that your house is not selling. You want $200,000. You've got to sell in 2 weeks. You have no equity. You're about to be in big trouble. Is there anything you could possibly do to ensure? See, now I know what the objection is.
Exactly.
So I can now address it. I was willing to ask you an uncomfortable question.
Right. Yeah.
Because if I don't ask the uncomfortable question on the call, Susie, guess who's going to be uncomfortable Friday at 7:15?
Exactly. Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
How come they're not answering?
Yeah. And most of our people go to voicemail so far. So,
because there's no value in them picking up. What you want is them to be like looking at their phone going, when's she going to call? When's she going to call?
Right.
She's my financial cancer doctor.
Right.
Who's going to prescribe me, even though she's going to cut my head open and leave me a big fat scar financially, she's going to carve out the cancer too and save my finance.
Right.
So I don't care about the scar. I don't care about the bill I've got to pay because the value exceeds the price. I don't sell on price. I sell on value.
Perfect. Yeah, that really helps.
Okay, your turn. You got 15 minutes. You got to pitch me. I'm the seller. Ring.
Okay.
Hello?
Ring. Hi, Russell. This is Susie from RL Investing. We had texted about the property that you have for sale.
I texted a few people.
Okay. So tell me what your goals are with the sale of your property and what.
Hold on a minute. Which text is this? I mean, I texted a few people.
Oh, This is Susie from Ariel Investing. We are offering a lease option as an option for you with the sale of your property. Or, maybe we can discuss a few options for you. Blank.
Okay, so automatically your voice sounds, like you said, very nervous. The more you feel compelled to explain to me, the deeper the hole you're going to get into.
Yeah, you're right.
You are not selling me here. You are a real estate investor looking for a real estate investment. You're not a salesperson here. And I don't mean sales people are bad. What I'm saying is you're trying to convince me. Professionals sort, amateurs convince. So the reason you're convincing is because you think you're supposed to be somebody that you're not. You're convinced of that.
Yeah.
I'm saying you're looking for an investment property. You're sorting through your text. You happen to notice this person had mentioned they were open to a rent-own. Now, the chances are they're probably going to know in advance who you were. But
sure.
What I want to hear from you is, we texted about doing a rent-to-own possibly. Do you remember that?
Got it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Can you share about your property? I mean, I'm not pitching. Right? I'm just like, I'm looking to sort here, man. Are you in or you? I mean, is this a fit or not? I've got this awesome software that I can use to sift through people like crazy. So what's up? What do you got? That's. I'm being a little overly cocky, but you get the idea.
Yeah. Shall we start over?
Let's do it again. So, hello.
Oh, I forgot to ring.
That's all right.
All right, Russell. Hi, Russell. This is Susie from Ariel Investing. We have texted back and forth about your home.
Okay, I texted a few people.
Sorry. Okay. Well, I still don't get it. I texted a few people, so at this point, well, we're interested in a.
So pause real quick. So a great way to think of your structure here is hook, story, whether it's theirs or yours, offer. You want to be thinking on a phone call, hook, story, offer. The hook is, hey, Susie, this is Russell from, this is Russell. I was just texting you about doing a possible rent to own for your property. There's kind of like my hook. It's kind of like a, without you having to pay, for your full asking price without you having to pay any commissions. So there's my hook. I text you about doing a rent to own for your full asking price without you having to pay any commissions and possibly sell it in the next 7 to 14 days. Boom.
Got it.
Can you tell me a little bit about your property? Now I'm going to let them tell me the story about the property. So hook, story, and then I'm going to make them an offer. So if I follow that sequence, then I have a guide of how I'm going to, beginning, middle, and end.
That makes sense.
Start again. Hello?
Hi, Russell. This is Susie. We have been texting back and forth about your property. We were offering a lease option that would allow you to sell your home within the next couple of weeks. The benefits without having to pay any realtor commissions and get somebody in there to pay your payments. Let's see. You said hook, story. Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about your property and any challenges you might be having?
Yeah, I mean, it's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage is beautiful. I've lived here for the last 20 years, but, I've got to move in 2 weeks. And I've got 0 equity, so I can't, if you're a realtor, I'm not interested. And, it sits right in front of a lake. And
well, they have, sorry.
Got you on that one.
Yeah.
And I just, invested $20,000 in improvements. So, I don't know why I think it's priced right. It's just, we're just not getting a response. And, I don't know why it's not moving. So, I'm not sure how the lease option thing works, the rent to own thing works, but, I'm open.
Okay, Russell, we may have a solution that would work perfectly for you, especially with your time frame. The lease option is basically, we won't be your end buyer, but we will market for you at no cost, and in an attempt to find a person who is looking to buy the home but may not be able to do so because of either bad credit, they're a new business owner, they've just moved into a state, so they can't qualify to buy a home, but they can move in with a lease option that, let's see, the benefits to you. You will not be paying us any realtor.
Pause. So you sound like a telemarketer big time.
Okay.
What I want you to do is I want you to play hard to get.
Okay.
This is too easy for me.
Got it.
And I'm repelled from telemarketer sounding pitches. I am attracted to a doctor prescribing me medication for my illness. So, number one, you're prescribing really fast. You're a good doctor is going to, number one, reiterate what I just said, so that way you validate that you listen to me. You also want to do what we call is twisting the knife a little bit. So you can't sell your property right now. Why is that a problem? Right. Well, if I don't sell my property, I just got a job out of state. I've got to sell it. Okay. So you're moving out of state because you got a job. And if you don't sell it, what's going to happen? Twisting the knife. Well, what's going to happen is I'll have a double mortgage. So that means, what's your mortgage right now? It's $1,800 a month. So you'd be paying that twice? Yeah. So that'd be $3,600 a month? Yeah. You don't got $3,600 a month to pay? Nope. Okay. Right. What else? Well, I'll have to be a landlord. Okay. What's the problem with that? You see what I'm doing?
Exactly.
I'm making you bleed.
And it sounds perfect. And then when I open my mouth, I can't.
Because you're wanting to vomit on me, your sales pitch. You're wanting to prescribe to me some kind of, you said, I've got the perfect, how do you know it's perfect?
Right.
So the way you know it is by asking questions. You draw it out of me. So by the time I'm done listening to myself bleed over the phone to you about how miserable my situation is, you sound like an oasis in the middle of my desert.
Perfect.
Follow me?
Yeah.
So you've got to draw that out. If you're immediately prescribing medication for me without making me admit to you I've got a problem, then you sound like a telemarketer trying to sell me. It's exactly how you sound right now.
Exactly.
So I want you to hear this video. I want you to hear this recording. I want you to hear what you did different. And then I want you to listen to me and notice the difference. I don't sound like I'm emotionally tied to this deal. I'm not trying to convince you. If you said, I can't do a lease option, I can't do a lease option, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Hey, I appreciate your time. Have a great day. I don't convince. Amateurs convince. Professional sort. I'm looking to get off the phone with you if you're not a fit. Why? Because I'm looking at a screen right now with a laundry list of leads I got to get to. I'm flipping the cards. I'm looking for the 4 aces. That means I've got 48 non-aces I got to get through quickly. So look at the difference in the mindset of a professional versus a amateur. Amateur's like, I know you're a jack, but if I can just get my magic marker and just scribble out and make you into an ace, nope, I'm not doing that. I got 26 entries according to your text blast software right here. You're one of my 26. I know that there are 4 aces in that list. I know for a fact there are 4 aces. All I got to do is get on and off the phone as quickly as I possibly can, compress time frames, and find my 4 aces. Are you it? The way I find that out is I say, listen, can you accept terms, or is cash the absolutely only way you can do it? Because if you notice in this example, this person said that they, our example, we said that we could accept terms. Cool. Tell me more. Tell me where it hurts. And so as they do that, give me that litany of pain, I'm going to then interlace my solutions in all of their problems. But I've got to know all their problems in order to do that. So you don't want to pitch too fast, because then it's not blatantly clear to the seller that you're the one and only person that they should be talking to at 7:15 on Friday.
Right. So Russell, what do you think that the best use of our time is when we're not with you? Should we continue to role play? Because it almost seems like if Dan and I are role playing, we're just going to be bouncing the same.
It's the blind leading the blind. You've got to get as much training as you possibly can. The reason I recommend Grant Cardone, and I know he's got some abrasiveness that I don't like, but he's got some of the best training I've ever heard. So I just kind of have to look past some of the dirty stuff.
Yeah.
But he's got great sales skills. And it may not be him. Maybe it's somebody else. I just think his stuff is real direct. And I know for a fact our sales have gone up like crazy by using it. So listening to it, training, role playing, it's not good enough just to listen to it. And then doing these types of calls with us. When you're doing your leads, you're simply looking for the lowest hanging fruit, AKA somebody says, yeah, I'm open. There's some kind of an indication that's tell me more versus no way, I don't want to deal with you. So I'm running a campaign. I'm going, someone who says, how much is the down payment? How does that work? Can you tell me more? I'm not sure how this works. Any of those types of responses, that's who I'm looking to get on the phone with, because that person is telling me that they're open at least to some degree. And then it's my job to be a good listener and draw out, turn the knife, tell me why it hurts, tell me more about what you're going through. And if they're like, well, can you tell me how this works? I don't want to tell you more. How does this work? Listen, at this point, ma'am or sir, all I'm doing is a fact-finding call. I'd like to get you on the phone with our partner. He specializes in this. I don't. So he asked me to contact you, which is true, because as I've asked you to do your leads and market and get me on the phone with people. And that's it. If they're like, no, I don't want to talk to anybody, they're not your ace. If your ace is going to be willing to let you lead. The ace has got a real problem. They believe that you have a real solution, or at least they're open to hearing a real solution. Your job is then to just sell the call with me. The call, not our lease option solution.
Got it.
Because if they're thinking, and here's why you don't sell a lease option solution right off the bat. You said it yourself. Our particular area where we live our HOA doesn't allow renters.
Right.
If you would have prescribed a lease option solution and never knew that their HOA wouldn't allow it, you'd have killed yourself.
Exactly.
So sell the call.
Okay.
Cool?
Yes, perfect. I wanted to ask you something. I just happened to see this. I think this is Chris. I've been talking to him. He's a challenge for me. And I don't know if it's disrespect or a woman thing or what it is, but he hasn't really answered many of my questions. Hold on. I didn't get to him back in time. Somebody wanted to go take a look at the house today, and evidently he was there and missed him. But it looks like he says he wants to get another conference call with us.
So write down a list of the hard questions that Chris needs to answer.
Here, can you see that?
Still at Flip House, no response, and nobody has shown up. We need to get better at communication because this isn't working for me. I've got a business to run, and maybe you should just text the name and number of the person coming so I can schedule a time with them time to meet them, or time with them to meet. Again, it goes back to does he really have a financial cancer here?
Yeah, he really does, but he doesn't seem to be. I've actually suggested, let's talk about lowering the price, maybe 2 or 3 times. He ignores those.
Okay,
texts.
so he's out.
Okay, good.
So a real buyer or a real seller is ready, willing, and able. Ready, willing. Is this guy willing?
No, he's just kind of a pain in the butt.
So he doesn't qualify.
Yeah.
This is a bad investment. You've got to be able to know what's a good investment and a bad investment. Part of what makes a good investment is that you've got somebody who's willing to let you lead. If they're not willing to let you lead, the dance is over.
Good. Good. Thank you.
You've got this text blast software that can generate massive amounts of leads for you. Why would you ever chase, you know what I'm saying? Why would you ever chase one lead? That puts you into the amateur bucket of, I'm trying to convince this guy that he's got a problem, and I'm trying to convince him all the time that I've got the solution. He's either convinced about that and willing to do whatever it takes because he's genuinely got a financial cancer, or he's not. Amateurs convinced, you've got a financial cancer. But professionals like, dude, you're out. I'm looking for somebody who's ready, who's willing, and who is able to sell their property and allow me to help them do it. I have so many leads. I know for a fact there is gold in them thar hills. I know there is, and I got to sift a lot of dirt really fast. The question is, how fast can I sift the dirt in order to find them? So that's the difference between an amateur and a professional sort. You're out. I'm not saying kick somebody out for nothing. And obviously, if he's right about something, ask yourself, is he right? If it sounds like he's not, because it sounds like you've tried to bend over backwards and he's just not willing to cooperate, he's out.
How would you end it?
I wouldn't. I'd ignore him. If he asked me about it later, you can send him an email and say, look, this is just not this investment's just not a fit for us anymore, and cancel the deal. The cancellation goes both ways. You can cancel, but so can you.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's what I wanted to know.
This is bad investments that's sucking up your time and energy.
Yeah, and it has been from the start. He just is not respectful of my time, doesn't respond to me. So, and this is the one I had asked you about a couple of weeks ago via email. I think that's how I will do it, is just, you know what, this isn't a fit. And
cut him loose.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Thank you, Russell, so much for your help. I'll take a breath and we'll start over.
Awesome call. Listen to this call over and over.
Yeah.
And let Dan listen to it. Listen to other training besides myself. And then that way, when we do get on the call, you're going to be so much more confident because you've done the homework. If you get on the next call that we do and you're like, I haven't done any of the homework, the only fault here is yours.
Got it.
Fair enough?
Awesome. Thank you, Russell.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.